So this is kind of a little model that I use to get myself there. And it is a series essentially of 5 questions that you need to think about. Now, each one of them, of course, has a bunch in it. But if you can kind of go through this exercise, and you may want to do this once, I often think you need to do a strategy kind of once a year, but actually it could also be something that you look at quarterly. It could be something you look at regularly, depending on where you are. So don't think of it as just a solid thing that you can never change. The market changes, your priorities change, so you can continually to evolve it, but it's not something that you should be changing your mind on this every single day, or else you'll never get focused and you'll never get priority. So the first step, right? What is your vision and what is your ambition? Now, one of the key things when you were defining your vision and ambition is to focus. Again, easier said than done. But when I meet with mentees, one of the number one questions I ask every single mentee that I talk to is, who is your target customer? So when you're thinking about your vision, who is it you're really going after? And 9 times out of 10, I get an answer that's something like everyone, or women between the ages of 25 and 35. And when you're trying to reach everyone, it becomes really hard to know what. If I said, Karen, go out and market to everyone, well, do you know what? The things that I could do are just endless, right? So there's no way for me to know and to prioritize which is the best and which is the most important, because I'm trying to reach everyone. But the more specific you can be about who it is you're actually targeting, the more it will become obvious what it is that you actually should be working on. And therefore you can constantly keep yourself honest and to say, is what I'm doing helping me to actually reach this person? So this is an example from the brand Lululemon, who have expanded a little bit, but they make yoga clothes, athletic leisure clothes, etc. They could have gone out and said, we go after every woman. But instead, when they started, it was really about active urban professional women who really care about quality and want to be fashionable, which narrows it, right? It allows you to say, we're not trying to be everything to everybody. We're not going to go off and do things in this area where these women aren't, or we're not going to do things with this media where these women aren't. So it allows you to get very, very focused. And so I strongly encourage you to really think about who that target customer is as you're thinking about your vision. You also want to think about, what does success look like? So when you know who you're going after, what does that goal look like? And it can be a simple statement, but that has something quantifiable in it. I like to write it as a newspaper headline that says, in 1 year, 1 year, what will that newspaper say? And it will say, for example, that the That's It skincare range will have achieved X, right? You're in year 2 of your business. What will the end of that look like? You will be, in X stores, or you will have this amount of revenue, or you will be, number 1 in Google for this brand, or whatever it may be, whatever you think it may be, but as specific and inspirational as it can be. But I also want you to balance it with thinking about what is right for you. And I'm going to pause here for a second and just talk a little bit about what I mean here. As entrepreneurs, we are often overwhelmed, right, with all of these stories, or bombarded, I should say, with these stories of unicorns and everybody, making billions and billions of pounds, and everybody out there, whatnot. And that's all wonderful. And I encourage all of you to have that ambition. And I want you all to be, I know you all will be very, very successful. But I also want to remind you that actually success means different things for different people. So when you are thinking about what your ambition is and what that vision is and how you're going to be helping people, balance that with what matters for you. An example of what I mean by that is one of the mentees that we work with, her product had actually been doing really, really well, is doing really well, I should say. Lots and lots of success. And as a result, she was being pushed to go internationally. And she was like, okay, I need to go international. I need to be big. I need to have all these distributors, all these partners, all these sorts of things. And all of that was great, but it meant that she was finding herself in this sort of spiral of running in a million directions and not knowing what she wanted to do. And she took a step back with her mentor and really thought about the fact that, you know what, actually, my family is really important to me. I don't want to be traveling to other countries every week, setting up distributor relationships. I want to be, I want to be home. I want to be with my family. I want a successful, thriving business, but I also don't want it to be so overwhelming. So to me, success means in the UK, I'm going to have achieved this. And it doesn't mean never international. It just means for the next 12 months, I'm going to do this. So think about, what does that look like for you? Is it about, I want to be as big as I possibly can, or actually I want to do that in a phased approach? What does that look like in a year? What does that look like in 2 years, 3 years, et cetera? That balances what's right for you as an individual and your family and your priorities and your goals with the things around scale, how fast do I want to go, et cetera. So when you're writing that vision, think about it, because that will allow you, again, to just keep checking back in with that vision and say, well, wait a minute. I said that what was important to me is that I get this balance of my family and my home, which I know someone put into the chat. And then suddenly, if you find yourself being pulled to go do this other thing, you can go back to that and say, actually, this was my vision and this is what I said I was going to do. So I want you to reflect for a moment and think about how clear you are on that vision and ambition that will help you to do that, to have that focus. On a scale of 0 to 5, how clear do you think you are? And maybe a reason as to, why you've scored yourself the way that you have. So Michael's got a 4, which he answered instantly, which I love, which means you've given a lot of thought about this, which I think is great. Eric, 3. 3. Okay, we're seeing some consistency here. 3.5. Okay, great. Well, so we've got some, I think this is a great start. Sometimes people say 0 when I ask this question. So I think, I was confused at start. As you said, I went to everyone. Yes. And that's not, you're not alone in that. Lots and lots of people do that, right? They want to go to everybody. They want to do everything. And when I ask them questions like, are you a direct to consumer business, or are you a retail business, or are you a wholesale business? They'll say, well, I can do all of it. And I was like, okay, but if you're trying to do all of it, right, how are you ever going to focus what you're going to do? And it doesn't mean you eventually won't do all of it. It means in the next 12 months, which ones are you going to do? If you can make those choices around, what am I selling? Who am I selling it to? Where am I selling it? Then you can always go back to that. I'm a 2 to 3. My issue is I achieved my recent goal, so I'm finding it tricky to reset new ones. Great, Blanche. Well, first of all, congratulations on achieving your recent goal. And I think that's, that's a wonderful place to be, because now you can set a new goal. And we'd love to talk to you about what those goals are, and maybe we can help you to define some of those. Great. Okay. So if you've answered below a 5, before you rush off tomorrow and try to find a new time management technique, I might put a couple of hours into the calendar where you actually go back and revisit your strategy and see, is it focused enough? Have you made choices? Because the more choices you can make there, the easier it is to make those choices on a day-to-day basis about what you want to do.